Hey everyone, I'm Pixel and welcome back to the channel. So glad you're here today because we're about to dive into something really cool. So real talk, right now your phone or laptop is literally running like over 50 different systems at the same time. And here's the crazy part, most people only know about like 3 of them. The processor, maybe some storage, RAM if they're tech savvy. But dude, every single thing is talking to every other thing right now. Like if one component just dies, boom, your whole computer is done. So in the next 8 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what each piece does, how they're all connected, and honestly, this is going to change how you think about your tech forever. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with the CPU. That's your central processing unit, basically the brain of your computer. Think of it like this. Every single thing your computer does, every calculation, every click you make, that's the CPU doing the work. And here's what blows my mind about it. Modern CPUs have billions of tiny transistors inside them. Billions. And these little switches are turning on and off billions of times every single second. That's insane when you think about it. So when people talk about a processor being 3 gigahertz or whatever, that means it's doing 3 billion operations every second. Visualize that for a second. 3 billion. Now, what makes one CPU better than another? It's usually 2 things. How many cores it has in the cache. More cores means you can do more stuff at the same time. Cache is like super fast memory that sits right inside the CPU, so it doesn't have to wait around for data. Oh, and here's the thing nobody talks about. These things get hot. Like really hot. When you're gaming, your CPU is working overtime and it's pumping out heat like crazy. That's why gaming rigs have those massive coolers on them. Okay, so RAM, random access memory. If the CPU is your brain, RAM is like your short-term memory, you know? Here's the key thing that confuses people. RAM and storage are totally different. RAM is super fast, like insanely fast, but it's temporary. The second you turn off your computer, everything in RAM just disappears. That's why when your computer crashes and you haven't saved your work, it's just gone. Poof. Storage is the opposite. It's slower, but everything stays there permanently. So RAM is where your computer keeps all the stuff it's actively using right now. Like if you've got Chrome open with 10 tabs, those are all sitting in RAM. These days you've got DDR4 and DDR5 RAM. DDR5 is basically twice as fast as DDR4, but they work the same way, just holding data for quick access. How much do you actually need? Honestly, for just browsing and work stuff, 8 gigs is totally fine. If you're gaming or doing creative stuff like video editing, 16 gigs is the sweet spot. 32 gigs? Yeah, most people don't need that much, but like 3D artists and video professionals, they're gonna want it. All right, so storage is where all your permanent stuff lives. Your files, your apps, your whole operating system, it's all there. And unlike RAM, it stays there even when you power down. There's 2 types you gotta know about, HDDs and SSDs. HDDs, hard disk drives, they're like the old technology. Inside, there's literally a metal plate spinning around, and there's this tiny arm that reads and writes data by moving across the plate. Because it's mechanical, it's slower. We're talking like 160 megabytes per second of reading speed. But they're cheap as hell and they hold tons of data. SSDs, solid-state drives, no moving parts at all. It's all flash memory, same tech as a USB stick. And because there's nothing moving, nothing spinning, the speed is insane. You're looking at 500 to 7,000 megabytes per second, depending on what kind of SSD you get. That's why new computers boot up in like 5 seconds instead of waiting 2 minutes. That's also why they cost more though. Most people these days are using SSDs for their main drive, and maybe an HDD for extra storage. Okay, so the motherboard is basically the thing that connects everything together. And honestly, it doesn't do any of the actual computing itself. It's more like the traffic cop making sure everything's talking to everything else. Think of it like your nervous system. Every component plugs into the motherboard. Your CPU goes here, RAM goes here, storage connects here. The motherboard's managing all that communication. There's also the BIOS on the motherboard, which is like the firmware that boots everything up before your operating system even loads. The BIOS checks that all your stuff is working and gets it ready. Now, different motherboards have different features. Like a high-end gaming motherboard might have better power delivery, way more USB ports, better audio components, stuff like that. A budget motherboard does the same basic job, but with less bells and whistles. The speed at which everything talks to each other on the motherboard is controlled by protocols like PCIe and modern PCIe 5.0. Dude, that can transfer data at 128 gigabytes per second. That's absolutely bonkers. So your GPU, graphics processing unit, this is where gaming and video stuff comes to life. Every computer has some kind of graphics, but there's two types. You've got integrated graphics that's built right into your processor, and then you've got dedicated graphics cards that are separate components. Here's the key difference between a GPU and a CPU. The CPU is like a generalist. It handles everything. The GPU is specialized. It's really good at one specific thing, processing thousands of pixels all at the same time. So when you're playing a game, right, your CPU is handling the logic. Like, where are the enemies? Did you just get hit? What's your score? Your GPU is handling all the visuals. It's rendering millions of polygons, calculating lighting, putting textures on everything. Your GPU is literally doing trillions of calculations every single second. Integrated graphics, like you'll see in Intel or AMD processors, those are built into cheaper laptops. They're slower, but they use no extra power and don't take up space. All right, so all these components, they're doing billions of calculations per second, right? That generates a ton of heat, like a serious amount of heat. Without cooling, your CPU would literally overheat and just die in seconds. We're talking permanent damage. There's two main ways computers cool down: air cooling and liquid cooling. Air cooling is the most common. You've got a heat sink, which is basically a piece of metal with fins on it, attached to your CPU or GPU. Those fins increase the surface area so more heat can escape into the air. Then you've got a fan blowing air across those fins to carry the heat away. It's simple, it's cheap, and it works great. Liquid cooling is different. Cool liquid flows through blocks attached to your hot components. Then it gets pumped through a radiator where it cools down. Liquid cooling is more efficient, but it's expensive, it's complicated, and you gotta maintain it. Here's something important. If your computer starts getting slow during games or heavy tasks, it's probably overheating. Your CPU has thermal sensors that detect when it's getting too hot, and it actually slows itself down on purpose to cool off. It protects the hardware but kills your performance. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting because all these things are constantly talking to each other. Let's say you click a button on your mouse. That input goes to the CPU through the motherboard. The CPU figures out what you did and tells the GPU, "Hey, I need you to draw something on the screen." The GPU renders all the graphics and sends the image to your monitor. And your cooling system is keeping everything from overheating. All of this happens in milliseconds. If any one component dies, the whole thing stops. If your motherboard dies, nothing works, even if your CPU is perfectly fine. If your power supply fails, there's no power going anywhere. This is why balanced upgrades matter. If you throw a really high-end GPU into a computer with a weak CPU, it's not going to work well. The CPU becomes the bottleneck. Same thing if you get tons of RAM but your storage is slow. The storage becomes the problem. Understanding this stuff helps you figure out what to actually upgrade. You don't need the most expensive everything. You need components that work well together and balance each other out.